I got kicked off.
Yeah, so that's...
I think we all did.
Oh.
Oh boy. Any idea? Does anyone know what happened?
No.
Was this scheduled for 2 hours?
It's scheduled for 3. And definitely not for an arbitrary time like 9:10.
Right.
It's weird.
That was very bizarre.
It was.
That was so bizarre.
Question is, did Andrew finish his public comment?
He did not.
No, he didn't even start.
Okay. Joys of technology.
We have a bunch of attendees back, and we'll get Andrew up right away as soon as we get our board back.
As long as he makes it for his report.
And I need to be promoted to host again to be able to.
Randy, you're now the host again. If you can promote Michael.
Let me see here.
Oh boy.
Oh boy, here's my little Lazar. More. Yes?
So I've got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We just don't have our board back yet. There's Joseph. Hang on.
So for the attendees listening, I apologize. I'm not exactly sure what happened. Thanks for jumping back on board. Andrew Silver, we are absolutely going to acknowledge you. There's a lot of public comment. I apologize for the, hey, Eric, nice to see you. I apologize for whatever happened. I'm not exactly sure.
Not your fault. It's happened.
I am deeply offended that I've been included.
Yeah.
You know, I just wanted to see your...
I think I may have accidentally promoted you, Eric. Hang on.
I've been accidentally promoted.
I don't want to be involved in any club. Have me as a member.
There you go. You're back.
Get Lana on.
I'm looking for our board members to bring them up.
Lana.
Is this everyone? We have Brian, Rachel.
Michael, you got to take me off.
Hi.
It's Rachel. Hello.
Okay. Okay.
And I'm looking, oh, here's, and we have Richard's back. I've got Richard unmuted. Everyone, I think it is.
Just Jesse Porter is the only one who's missing, but he's not in the room yet.
Okay, well, let's, hopefully he will rejoin us.
Point of order, if he doesn't come in and hear all the comments, then he may not vote.
Then he may not vote, correct? Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Hello.
Yes.
You're there, Richard.
I can hear you. Okay, Andrew Silver, I apologize. I'm not sure what happened. You were in the middle of your comments.
Okay. Any idea where I left
Just start
off?
over, sir.
Beginning.
Just start over. I apologize.
Okay. All right, here we go. The Homelessness Committee rejected this statement due to the inclusion of a request for LAPD intervention. It was rejected because members of the Homelessness Committee have firsthand knowledge of how problematic LAPD intervention is with the homelessness community. I would have supported this motion if it was limited to the LAPD SLO. Theo Henderson, who was at our March 11th forum, lives in a park in LA's Chinatown, where he says he's had police called on him by people claiming he's mentally ill, doing drugs, and endangering children. If you see me in the park trying to survive and you don't like that, you feel I'm an eyesore, You spend a lot of money and resources that go to police who will criminalize me or harass me. Motion 11B offers an alternative, requesting care and HMST intervention. Just to be clear, the Homelessness Committee is not rejecting LAPD interaction with the homeless. Requesting care and HMST is calling the police. Care operating procedures include LAPD presence. The difference is social workers are the lead organization. HMST is calling the police. The difference is a targeted manner based on data. The two motions call for the same thing many times. I've asked nicely many times and I'm not satisfied with the response. Let's speak for the 5,500 people that signed a petition expressing fear and frustration, and we are now demanding action. Let's speak with one voice on this issue. Let's speak with the informed voices of the Homelessness Committee. Let's speak with the 5,500 of our neighbors and demand effective action that won't further jeopardize our community. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Mitz, please. Mitz, I'm gonna promote you. You have to unmute yourself and go.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I just wanted to comment real quickly in under a minute about the safety of the area behind Ralph's. While I am all for care coming out and taking care of the issue there, it's more of a safety issue. Every night, a lot of us are calling LAPD because there are fights that are happening. There are small fires being, little campfires being made. There is rampant trash all over the place. I did send an email to Randall, the new president, so he could see the area. I have contacted both Krikorian's office, who says that's a state Caltrans location, so I've put in tickets for that as well, and I've also talked to Nazarian's office. This has been going on since last October, August. It's gotten worse over the last couple of months, and it's more of a safety issue. Just the other day, there was 2 homeless people fighting. There was screaming, cops were called out. I mean, it's more of a safety issue more than anything, and the safety of the neighborhood. I myself don't even want to walk to Ralph's using that walkway anymore, even during the daytime. So it's more of a safety issue. I'm all for getting them help that they need. I work in an area where we work with a lot of social workers, so I understand the needs. I understand the problems that are behind it, but it is a safety issue and it is getting worse. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we hear from Dave Wilson?
Dave, go ahead.
Yeah, I have no problem talking about this. I am at Moore Park and Woodbridge area, and there is a lot of homeless in the area that are stealing, that are taking from our houses. It is a little unfortunate that this is happening, and I think that this is an issue that Studio City needs to address, for sure. Go ahead.
Thank you. If we can hear from Melanie Winter.
Melanie, unmute and you go.
Thank you. I'm going to 100% back Andrew on this, and I think the Homeless Committee of Studio City has been the strongest and most involved and the most knowledgeable of just about any neighborhood council committee out there. And I really am disturbed by the board, the other members not taking their counsel on this. There have been numerous articles about the issues between LASA and CARE and COPS, and I've been burglarized myself, so I understand hearing your concerns, but this is at the heart of what we're talking about and what police should do, what police should not do, what police escalate, what they actually solve. Police would not have solved my burglary issue. They're probably not going to solve a lot of the concerns you have. We have to invest in resources that can handle this. Andrew knows the resources that can handle this. I urge you not to disregard his expertise and kind of mutiny and go behind on this. It feels really bad. And I think when you have this kind of support and expertise in the community, you really should take their time.
Thank you, Melanie. We hear from Elaine.
Elaine, unmute and you can go. The other way. You unmuted yourself for a second. There you go.
I totally reinforce what Melanie just said. You've got experts who really know how we can begin to solve this problem, and we need to follow their lead.
Thank you very much. If we can hear from David Sindelar for 1 minute, please.
David, go ahead, unmute, and you can go. And it doesn't seem like he's ready.
Okay.
And Dave, we've heard from before.
And Dave, we've heard from. Okay, any comments from board members on this issue?
I have one more friendly amendment.
Certainly.
Let me find the letter again. It mentions the word bacteria. I would politely suggest we change that to pathogens, being a healthcare professional. There's a lot more things out there, as we've seen in the last couple months, that make you sick besides just plain old bacteria. And that's assuming the letter actually passes.
Noted.
Any other comments?
Alex.
You're muted, my friend.
You have to unmute yourself, sir.
Hi there. So can I just get clarity? So basically the motion as it is would only pass without the intervention from the LAPD, correct? Is that what I hear correctly?
No, the letter includes a request simply for more patrols in these areas, along with a care team visit. Yeah, and this was something that was actually suggested earlier, and then the position was reversed for some reason. I'm not sure. I still don't quite understand why.
Okay, well, I mean, I understand where we're hearing, but I mean, and this is just a person who's being able to observe with my eyes and ears, and it's been suggested that we follow the professionals, and I just got to say that, maybe everyone doesn't agree, but I think the professionals and whatever speak that we've been following for the past 4 years has been an absolute utter failure. I believe we've really not been able to resolve the problem with these with the homeless. It's gotten worse, and I think that the plan being put forth is just a continuation of other failed attempts of rectifying this problem. So Last and Care are the last people I'd probably follow direction on, and I think they're an absolute. They could actually come here with a straight face and still propagate the same trajectory is beyond belief. There are other solutions, and I just want to let everyone know that. Thank you.
Rajuka, go ahead.
Hi, I'm in support of what Andrew's saying and Melanie Winter. Increasing police as the main solution to some of these problems overlaps also with the sort of what we are experiencing in terms of racism and police response. So I'm in total favor of Andrew's response to this and Melanie's.
Lisa.
Okay, so I live right off of Ventura Boulevard, and I respect everyone's opinion on this, but the fact of the matter is that the homeless situation has really gotten out of control. And we're not talking about people who are down and out, have lost their homes, and need taken care of. These people are homeless because they are drug addicts and they choose to be. They litter up and down the boulevard, all over our neighborhoods. There's theft all the time, and there are fires being started. There's trash, debris, and public safety hazards everywhere up and down our neighborhoods, our streets, and something has to be done. And this letter, I mean, call it what you will, but a letter does have to go out to Councilman Krikorian. A letter has to go out to Adjourn Nazarian. A letter has to go out. We have to take a stand. This is just getting too ridiculous. It's so unsafe to leave our homes sometimes. And we shouldn't have to live in fear. I'm sorry, but things that we own should not be getting stolen. Every day there are numerous ring alerts that, you know, someone's car got broken into, someone's garage got broken into. And it just, we should not have to live in fear this way. We just shouldn't. I'm all for taking care of the homeless, but there has to be a way that everyone is satisfied in terms of stakeholders feeling safe. So whatever letter needs to be put together, as politically correct as you want to make it, just let's do it. Let's take action, because things have not been working and it's growing bigger and bigger and getting out of control. So thank you for your time.
Quick comment, please.
Yes, go ahead, Richard Adams. All right, actually.
Okay, real simple. For better or for worse, under the way the neighborhood councils are set up, the homeless, and I'll be nice and use that term instead of my preferred adverb, are our stakeholders. They are our fellow residents, and they are entitled to police protection from the criminals in their population or ours as much as anybody. The regular police patrols should, knock on wood, make those people safer where they're living as they will make us safer where we live. And while we're not asking the police to, oh my God, drive them out here, drive them out there, they're entitled to public protection just like we are. And so therefore, while I recognize Mr. Silver's, concerns and the other ones voiced, who are we to tell that portion of our population they're not entitled to police protection? It's a bad optic for the neighborhood council. It's against everything we're supposed to stand for. And I strongly urge everybody to vote in favor of this, with, of course, the modification of bacteria to pathogen. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Nancy Kramer. Just need to unmute.
I did. I've been talking to Andrew offline a little bit about the homeless. I don't know enough about all of it, but what I do know is the culture of this country right now to defund the police, and the fact that right now at this moment Atlanta has no police force. You call 911 and you get the policemen that are in the jail cells. They're not responding to any calls. And what I do not want to do is support anything that may lend us to going down the path of not supporting police. That's law and order to me, and that's what the country is based on. But I would like to know, because I do think that 5,000 stakeholders, I do want to know, point of information, was that police part in that 5,000 people? Like what was that document that they all responded to?
The petition was a petition that they gathered 5,000 signatures in support of getting action from the city. And it's a change.org situation where they put the petition up there and then encouraged people to sign it. They gathered 5,500 signatures so far and counting. And the motion that they're getting the petitions for is a list of crimes that have happened in the Studio City area over the last year. And what it sort of like is the basis for why they feel they need help from the city. They're asking the city to act. I felt like it was important to include in the letter, and that's why it is mentioned, that this petition, that there's a significant groundswell of people who want the city to take action. The police part of it, we're asking for stepped up patrols, is a small part of really what we're asking for. And that's that the care team come out and do their job. We have not seen care service since the COVID lockdown happened. And these areas that people are congregating in have gotten exponentially worse as weeks are going by. And this is our chance to ask the council member to please step in and give us and ask the city to have the care teams do their job in our area.
And let me just make one more point, is that, the reason that it is getting so much worse is because the homeless have certain protection rights. Okay, so they are being protected. They have porta potties. I'm sorry.
I don't want to debate. I don't think it's healthy to debate that part of it here because
Okay, but I'm just saying they do have.
So a couple of things. I understand. First of all, I understand that there's passions run hot on the subject on both sides. I do think I just want to quickly offer a little nuance that I think perhaps is missing and is sometimes not talked about. Studio City, just from a public safety point of view, Studio City is approximately 5.5 square miles. NoHo LAPD has, at any given time, unless there's a call, one patrol car that patrols Studio City. So I think that, so I want to be clear when we, when we hear from some advocates saying police patrolling, asking for mass patrols of encampments. I think we have to be realistic as to what that isn't what is being asked for, in my opinion, in this letter, nor is that even something that North Hollywood Division is given Studio City. One patrol car for 5.5 square miles, unless they are passing through the area or there's a specific call that then there are more units respond to, number one. Number two, I think it's important that LAPD does issue reports quarterly, as far back, I think it's at least 2017, they issue quarterly reports to the LAPD Board of Commissioners as to crime and those experiencing homelessness. And it's worth noting that although overall city crime in the city overall is going down, crime within the homeless population is going up. And under Section 1 crimes, which are things such as rape being one of the top, that is happening. Now, what I sometimes think we fail to miss is that this is happening homeless, those that are unhoused against other people that are unhoused, which lends to a comment about if a police officer happens to be going by, that those that are in those encampments have a right to safety just as everyone else does. But Section 2 crimes, which are crimes of like petty theft and things being stolen out of our yards or in front of our houses, etc., that actually is increasing, and those are typically people that are unhoused against people that are housed. This is, to be clear, not all homeless people are miscreants and horrible people, and not all people don't want help. I think there's some nuance, so sometimes we lose here. I'm in support of the letter. I think we should bring it to a vote, but I also think, also police that are assigned to care teams, actually, originally when the care teams were started, they didn't want the police. It was the sanitation department that asked for the police because the sanitation department acknowledged that at times when their workers go to some encampments, not all encampments, not all of those that are experiencing homelessness, but some are not interested in the sanitation team element of their, along with social workers, and have been violent. So I think that if we want to change some of, we want to address the police, but the police are just carrying out what our laws are. So I think you have to change the law first before trying to penalize our police. And a lot of our stakeholders are experiencing some crime. So anyway, I think we should bring it to a vote.
Make one last point, and that would be that this is at the end of the day a letter, and we've passed a motion last summer asking for this very same action. This is a letter that is going out in addition to a motion that we passed last summer that Andrew wrote that's brilliant. And I mean, there's every real chance that this is probably going to get ignored, as the other letters have. But if we don't ask, we'll never get help out here. So asking for help is the first step.
One last, if I can make a quick point. The reason why we have one patrol car and all this stuff, we have no more money. There's no more money. Why aren't we asking where's the money? It's not like we're not getting taxed. We're getting taxed, but the misappropriation of money is our problem. We don't have an infrastructure. We don't have people that are able to protect us anymore. So you can write your letters, which is great. It takes a lot of hard work, and I appreciate that. I didn't do it. It's greatly appreciated. But it's falling on deaf ears because by inaction, they're basically saying to you, we've taken all the money. There's no more money, meaning 92 cents of every dollar is going to salaries and pensions. There's only 8 cents of every tax dollar you're getting for infrastructure. If we don't attack that, You're absolutely blowing smoke. There's nothing anyone's going to do de facto because they can't do it. There's no money.
Thank you, Alex. Let's
Randy,
yes.
Just literally 2 seconds. Michael, I just wanted to ask you, if Andrew wrote that motion and we passed it, can you tell me why your letter cannot just reinforce that? Just say, hey, we want to remind you that there is a motion that, I mean, or not that, or remind, I mean, just literally just reproduce that letter, that motion in your letter now.
It's just the board needs to speak as a whole because we're trying to put together consensus. The board should speak as a whole, whatever that be, whatever we decide that be. This was a letter that I put together with the help of some people present, and this is just our version. This is one version of it, and there's another version coming up later.
Point of privilege. Michael, can you unmute Richard Adams?
Yes, I just
done.
He's unmuted. Yeah.
Can I add something, please? Remember that.
Can I make a real quick additional comment?
So can we hear from Richard Niederberg first, and then?
Yeah.
Not a problem, boss.
Couple of things. One is the city has security quasi-police other than the people you see as foreign personnel. Look, go to city council chambers, you're going to see people that look like police. They're not police, and they're a heck of a lot less expensive. Also, this letter, it sounds very well intentioned, but it also sounds political. We want to actually sound political. Even if it's the right message, it sounds political. Thank you.
Richard Adams, one quick item, and then let's bring this to a vote, please.
Yeah, real fast. I've been homeless once. I was young. I was dumb. It was college time. I got over it. But if I were ever to be homeless again, I would go and do what I need to do to get in whatever program to get off the streets, because I am sane, rational, and not a drug user. A large portion of our population that are on the streets are none of the above. And I reiterate my point that these patrols would be in the idea of protecting them from the violent members of their community, and would strongly urge everybody to vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Okay, let's push this for a vote. All those in favor of motion.
Point of order, roll call vote.
Oh, thank you.
We need to do a roll call vote.
Roll call, yes.
Might as well.
Okay.
Can't
Richard
see.
Adams,
Yes.
Brian.
No.
I'm sorry, was that a no?
That's a no.
Okay. Michael,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Can Mira vote here or no? No.
Yes. No, she can't vote till she's 18 on anything.
Okay. Raduca,
No.
Lisa,
It
Lisa,
looks like
unmute.
she said yes, but she's muted.
Muted.
Yes.
Lisa, was it a yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry.
Nancy,
Yes.
Richard,
Reluctantly, yes, but I don't like the wording.
Jesse. Yes?
No.
No. Rick Rosner,
You're muted, Rick.
Yes.
Lana,
Yes.
Alexa, yes. Adam, absent. Joseph,
No.
no.
So 10-4. Motion carried.
10-4, motion carries.
As amended.
As amended. Motion 9B, the Studio City Neighborhood Council agrees to file a CIS on File Council 20-0692 to request LA City Council to increase Neighborhood Council's annual budget to $100,000 for the upcoming fiscal year. It is feasible, fair, long overdue, and in tune with the recent reallocation of funds away from LAPD and into the community. It says
This one's mine.
Okay, go ahead, Brian, if you could speak to this.
Yeah, so one of the other little projects that was going on during the, and actually this is in response to you, Alex, a kind of a joint president neighborhood council thing had formed over the last couple months to be able to do something while we were shut down by the city. One of the actionable items that came out of that is this request, where a lot of neighborhood councils from across Los Angeles are going to be putting this on to try to, our budget for next year is going to be $32,000. We're being cut. Obviously, all of the other departments, except for the LAPD, are being cut for the next fiscal year. But the problem is like we saw even with our neighborhood council that we were more in charge and responsible for taking care of our community than city council was, I would argue, most of the time. And so I think using this experiment of neighborhood councils and expanding it to where we can actually do some good in our neighborhoods by increasing our budget and to decentralizing power from City Hall, I think is good. We've been at 42,000 for a long time. That's never gone up. Everyone else's budgets seem to keep going up. Certainly Dunn's own budget internally went up, and we keep getting left behind. And now the 32,000, that we're being cut into, I just don't think it's adequate when we do have a very real opportunity to make the neighborhood councils and reinvent Los Angeles government as something that works on a local level for the stakeholders of each individual neighborhood. That's my pitch.
How realistic it is that we're gonna get 100K?
I think it's more realistic when you have 99 neighborhood councils all saying the same thing and demanding it in unison. That's one of the reasons why this group was formed, just to kind of have a one voice action that they can't ignore the neighborhood council system as much as they like to.
I'll second the motion, and we should take public comment.
Go ahead. If we can hear from Dave Wilson.
Dave, yes, Dave, go ahead on the motion to increase our budget.
I'm wondering if we can expand the homelessness priority to Woodbridge Park and other areas.
I'm sorry, Dave, we're currently on the budget increase. We're not, homelessness is, that issue is passed.
Maybe I was trying to comment on the homelessness problem earlier, and no one.
You had a minute. We gave you a minute on that, sir, to comment, and you aren't allowed a second comment once you give a comment.
Sorry, I was trying to give a minute on the fact that there was homelessness that expanded around the area, and I didn't get the chance to make a comment.
We could hear from Zachary.
Yes, Zachary, unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hi, thanks. I just wanted to say that I agree with this motion. Maybe all the city councils will get $100,000. Maybe they'll only go up to 50 or 70. But if you don't ask for it, you're never going to get it. And this is something that I agree A, that I'm glad that we're asking for, and B, I'm glad that all the city councils are working together on this, because this is only one of many issues I feel like all the city councils should work on. So I'm glad that this is the first step. Thank you. That's all with them.
We can hear from. Oh, go ahead, Richard. Or no, let's finish his public comments. We have David Sindelar. I know he was on, he was off, he was on. If we can please give him his time to speak.
David, you're on.
Yes, excellent. So you got to put teeth into this one. How about if you don't give us the $100,000, we all will resign and shut down the neighborhood council and have every one of the other neighborhood councils do the same thing. Now you'll get their attention. See, that you got to put something behind it. You're talking about $100,000. They're not going to give you $100,000. But if you stop paying to play, it's free, and they're not giving you a salary, then everybody just stop doing it, and everybody shuts down, and then the politicians like Paul Krikorian and Koretz don't have a conduit to advertise to run for office. Then you'll get the media's attention. Now, that'd be nice to have like 65 neighborhood councils all resign in one day. So that's what you need to do. So you know that they're serious. Right now, they don't think you're serious. That will make it serious.
If we can hear from Eric Previn.
Eric, you can unmute. And
okay, thank you. Well, I didn't know that the neighborhood councils had been meeting about this kind of a thing. Obviously, had I known, I would have come out against this kind of a request for $100,000. You know, 42,000 for the 99 neighborhood councils has worked as an incredible network of little feelers for the council districts. But I think that because the city neighborhood councils are not focused enough on outreach about what the city is actually up to, we hear enormous frustration from some. We have a wonderful community and people do try to help, and I love the idea of spending $100,000 properly. But even, you know, as we try to spend our 32, the eyebrows go up. And, you know, this is not me being negative. This is me being positive about spending the 32 wisely. But I think it's totally unrealistic given the dramatic furloughs and cost problems that the city has, which, by the way, existed prior to the COVID crisis. And in conclusion, 1 p.m. tomorrow is a special budget hearing. You can call in and ask your question or give
Time. Thank you very much. Okay, so if we can bring, are there any other comments from board members? Richard Niederberg.
Yeah, I've got one. Hang on a second.
Well, let's hear from Richard Niederberg. Go ahead.
Yeah. One of the problems is when you're going to the mountain, it's probably not going to happen anyway, but you have places like the new permanent neighborhood council, which has 5,000 constituents in the whole territory on a good day. I don't think they're going to use, I don't think they're going to use any, but use that as an example of why they don't want to give it to us. Because we have big neighborhood councils, we have small territories. And that's a very small territory and one of the newest ones.
Okay, Lana?
Yes, I would like to ask that we amend this motion to strike the last sentence and in its place offer something more positive about what we would do with an increased budget. Something to the effect of these funds at a grassroots level would empower the neighborhood council to be most effective on behalf of their communities. And I would like to also offer the friendly amendment to, instead of just strictly up to $100,000, I mean, saying just requesting $100,000, say up to $100,000, because we all realize that this may not be something that would be looked at very seriously, but in requesting an increase, maybe we could get some substantial monies in our area based maybe on our size. It's all up for negotiation, I guess, and I believe that we could do great work with an increased budget, and I don't think there's anything wrong with asking for that at all. Yet I feel like we need to give them some room to operate with us, because if every neighborhood council is asking for $100,000, that's $9.2 million. I get based on 92 neighborhood councils. I don't know, 96. I don't know.
It's
anyway,
99.
It's 99. Okay, great.
Our budget used to be 50,000.
It did, yeah.
I will second Lana on the up to and on the striking the last sentence. I can't second the replacement language because I don't know what it is.
And just to point out, there is a link to the CIS text, which is considerably longer than the motion itself.
Out of curiosity, how many of you have actually read the attached CIS?
It wasn't included in the agenda, so Richard Adams didn't see it.
Richard Adams was sent this letter by me earlier today.
I understand, but there was a bunch of files there, and I didn't get a chance to go through all of them.
Yeah,
Forgive me, I have a life.
Just making sure that that's what the issue is.
No, I'm with you, boss.
Thank you, Brian. Okay, so can we, I'd like to then just, I guess as amended, can we bring this to a vote?
Can we read the amended motion, please?
I think you need to read the CIS as well out loud so everyone can hear. If someone did not get to read it.
Do you want me to read it? I can read it.
Sure. I mean, I pulled it up here. I can see along, but who was it? Richard Adams says he wasn't able to open it or something?
Or if somebody will tell me which file, Brian, can you tell me which file it was that you sent me?
It's titled SCNC_CIS_CF20-0692.
I've got it.
Lana, go ahead if you want to quick read.
What was that? Somebody?
If you'd like to give it a quick read so we can just...
do you want me to read it out loud? That's what I was recommending. So
I don't
that
mind
any
reading
of our
it if you want
other
me to do it.
participants, that'd be great. I think other participants might.
Yeah, because the file you just mentioned to me is a reiteration of, it doesn't support the actual, doesn't show me a link to the actual file.
Let me.
Okay, can we, Lana or Brian, if you can just go ahead and give this a read. So
Yeah, I can read it.
Here, and then we can make a vote on the motion, please.
Great.
There it is.
I'm going to read it. We are in urgent and unprecedented times. As a result, we need urgent and unprecedented action. The Studio City Neighborhood Council hereby requests the LA City Council to increase Neighborhood Council's annual budget to $100,000 for the upcoming fiscal year. It is feasible, fair, long overdue, and in tune with recent reallocation of funds away from LAPDs and into the community. The people of our communities have taken to the streets to demand systemic and transformation of how law enforcement and institutions treat Black people in other communities affected by the history of white supremacy in America. We have demanded that systemic brutality in the hands of the police be addressed by redirecting funds away from the LAPD and directed into community-based programs, jobs, youth enrichment activities, and other basic needs. As a response, Council Members Price, Martinez, and Wesson introduce a motion that explains, quote, crime exists where neighborhoods are destabilized because of a system of institutions that produce economic inequality and underfunded schools. But policing is not responsible for, nor can it solve, unemployment, poor housing, and concentrated poverty, end quote. The motion calls for the City Council to instruct the City Administrative Officer and Chief Legislative Analyst, with assistance from the Mayor, work to identify at least $100 to $150 million of cuts from the Los Angeles Police Department's budget. The motion calls for recommendation on reinvesting these funds back into disadvantaged communities and communities of color. South Central area neighborhood councils are ground zero for disadvantage, underservice, and disinvestment. The LAPD budget currently stands at over 53% of the city budget, accounting for $1,857,330,549 in comparison to the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment at $2,828,444, or 0.006% of the city budget. Neighborhood Council annual budgets were reduced from $42,000 to $32,000. Neighborhood councils are the most comprehensive systems of self-governance in the country. We have direct links, lived experiences, and connections to the communities we serve. No one is excluded from participating regardless of gender, citizenship, or other social status. Funding neighborhood council is funding food pantries, youth literacy, sports, recreational, and enrichment programs. It is funding the healing of our neighborhood through mental health services, violence intervention and prevention, and other programs the councils have funded in recent and past history. It is funding local park activities, public schools, and after-school programs through neighborhood purpose grants and community investment projects. Funding neighborhood councils reduce crime, trauma, and unrest.
Thank you, Brian. We can bring the motion to a vote, please. I think it's a roll call.
Did we want to?
You ready?
We should have more discussion on after this has been read, correct?
Sure. Does anyone have any comments to that what was just read?
I would like to move to have it voted on as written, if that's possible.
Sure.
I second.
And any board members have any? We have public comment. If we can go quickly, Dave Wilson, 1 minute.
I would like to know how the funds are going to be used more than what has been said in the directive. Go ahead.
Do we answer that? I mean, the budgets are done and designed by individual neighborhoods to address individual neighborhood needs. So I guess it would depend on the neighborhood council to be able to come up with that budget that best represents their community.
Thank you. We'd hear from David Sindler, Wayne Sindler, please.
Yes, I mean, now we're getting to something better. So shouldn't we be giving the $100,000 to the neighborhood councils in the primarily black neighborhoods of Los Angeles City? We should be giving them more to represent partial reparations for all the times that they're just walking down the street and they get a cop come behind them and beat the shit out of them because they look black in a neighborhood. So it shouldn't go to Studio City. Studio City should get $32,000. But everybody in the neighborhood councils in the CD8, CD9, CD10, and the first district, they should get the $100,000 increase. Now, if you did that, you'd be showing your sacrifice in favor of those of color and minorities. So I think that's the way you should do it. And you're right. We're all a bunch of racists because we allow cops to be doing this for 200, 300 years. And this crap's got to stop. That's got to stop now.
Eric Previn.
Eric, go ahead.
Yeah. Am I unmuted?
Yes, sir.
Well, this is a little complicated. I'm a little confused. This sounded like we already commented on this. This was the $100,000 to increase neighborhood councils, but this is to aim it at certain neighborhoods that are more in need. Is that accurate? What this is?
I think it's more so that we push for all the neighborhood councils to be able to have this increase in budget by one voice so that it can affect other communities as well that are in need of definitely an increase. And I know, you know, the last caller may be sarcastic, but some of those were, you know, good points from my point of view. I mean, I would be in favor of just putting the increasing budgets into communities that may be more beneficial to their communities, but in the sake of speaking with one voice and pressure from all neighborhood councils to achieve it, I support the motion.
Well, okay, in my comment, just to finish it, thank you for that response. I will just have to reiterate that, you know, cities have enormous infrastructure needs and the Bureau of Street Services. There are so many departments. And again, tomorrow there'll be a budget meeting for those who are interested where we'll hear from just a sliver, like 7 or 8 of the departments. And they only give you 24 hours notice, which is ridiculous. But we're facing unbelievably historic financial difficulties because of the loss of revenue for the 3 months of COVID. I know people have forgotten because of all the unrest, and it's hard to imagine. But that coupled with the terrible deal made by Krikorian et al. In the back room with labor, costing $250 million before any of the crises showed up, we just don't have the money. As much as it would be great, we should be thinking about inventive ways to partner up with organizations that might have money if we want, and try to be supportive of those with our hearts and minds, which is what was so beautiful about the work that many of you were doing, delivering farm fresh to various characters. So I appreciate the effort, but I think this has no chance in hell, and I would vote against it because it looks bad. Thank you.
Rachel Tobias, and then I'd like to move this to a vote.
I kind of mirror Eric Previn's sentiments. I'm kind of actually confused why motion 10B is before 10C, because the CIS kind of implies sentiments of the people's budget, and you're basically going backwards as if you're going to vote on motion 10B and then go to 10C. You're just under the assumption then that both are going to be voted in. I don't know, it just seems flip-floppy.
Thank you. Okay, any final board comments before we move to Lana?
I just would like to say that I feel like the community impact statement is a bit overreaching in its language and feels much more like a money grab at a time when our city doesn't have the capacity for that at this time. I totally agree that monies need to be funneled into the community. Maybe this impact statement could be rewritten in some way to communicate that better with a phrase that Brian had mentioned earlier. I've forgotten, Brian, exactly what it was, the language you used in a nice, succinct summary, which was not in the letter. So I would just say that I'm not in favor of this community impact statement, but I am in favor of an increase in the budget for the neighborhood councils so we can better use it and improve our communities.
Great, thank you. So if we can do a roll call and move this to a vote.
Comment?
Richard, yes, please, briefly.
Okay, well, I was trying to be good. I would point out that these, voters of the city of Los Angeles voted for increased taxes a couple of years back. Forgive me, I don't remember the proposition or whatever, for a 10,000 person LAPD. We almost got there and it's trended down, and we don't have enough officers serving. And of the 10,000, somebody's at the desk, somebody's injured, somebody's this, somebody's that. And we hear constantly from the stakeholders, housed, unhoused, etc., they don't have enough protection. And we're going to take money away from the cops, good, bad, or otherwise, and there's all kinds on every side. I was in the Army. There's good GIs, there's bad GIs. I get it. Bad apples everywhere. We're going to take money away from doing that, which is a core responsibility of any government. Provide for the domestic, I'm losing the word. Never mind.
Tranquility.
Yeah.
No, I'm not done. And frankly, giving every neighborhood council, even some neighborhood councils, $100K of taxpayer money to disperse as they see fit. Granted, there is the council funding office. I have little faith in their ability to ensure the money isn't being drifted off to friends, relatives, associates, etc. Seems the height of folly. This is Chinatown, Jake. This city was corrupt long before any of us were born. It'll be corrupt long after we're gone. And I just don't get this. Thank you.
Great. If we can move this to a roll call vote, please.
Great. Richard Adams.
No.
Brian Carroll.
Yes.
Michael.
No.
Randy.
Who is that?
No.
Alex.
Yes.
Raduca.
No.
Lisa.
No.
Nancy.
No.
Richard.
No, I think it's going to be dead on arrival.
Jesse.
Yes.
Rick Rosner.
Yes.
Lana.
No.
Alexa. No. Adam. Absent. Joseph.
Yes.
Motion fails.
Great.
I'd like to point out that I appreciate the opposite viewpoints, and I salute your votes and standing for your principles.
The motion 9C, the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports sending a letter to Councilmember Paul Corcoran, Chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, endorsing the People's Budget for Los Angeles which shifts resources away from policing and directs them towards essential social services to promote the safety and well-being of Los Angeles residents. Who is this? Was this?
It's also me.
Trifecta.
Yeah, this is the last one I've got.
I second.
So the last, the People's Budget was put together by a number of organizations here in Los Angeles. It was presented to the Budget Committee on Monday. And what they're basically asking for is the rethinking of policing and how it's done in Los Angeles, and instead investing that into communities and social workers. You know, the idea that like when you get stopped, you know, for speeding on the road and you are stopped by an armed cop, you know, seems like we should just take some of the services that the police have already told us that they don't want to deal with, homelessness and a lot of mental health. They are not built for this kind of stuff, and put it into programs of which would be beneficial. One specific, and I linked to the People's Budget. It's publicly available online as well. The one thing I will add is one of my big soapboxes is the support of public goods, our libraries, our parks, the things that we, you know, are supposed to collectively own for the common good and the public good. And this budget essentially doubles it. So I think right now we spend between all of our public goods about 11%. This brings it up to, I think, about 25% going into libraries and parks and these kinds of public goods that we all commonly share. And it just, we talk a lot about, you know, what's going on in the news right now. We talk about what's going on in our city right now. But what are we prepared as a council to do about that? And so the People's Budget is, I believe, is a very forward-thinking proposal. It's a very well thought out proposal. And it's about ensuring a better, more safe, more equitable Los Angeles moving forward. And I think that the Studio City Neighborhood Council, we're not, and if we pass this, we will not be the first neighborhood council to support this budget. It was also just passed by North Westwood Neighborhood Council, but we could be one of the first and we could lead on this issue. And at a time when everyone's asking what's next and what does it look like, we have the opportunity to stand up and make a case for what it can.
As before, I second this motion for the interest of discussion.
For, let's see here, public comment, we have Dave Wilson. For 1 minute.
Go ahead, Dave.
Sorry, I was just trying to unmute the thing. My thoughts are that we need to reinvest in the infrastructure of our own society and make sure that the homelessness, this is an issue that I wasn't passed up on earlier, that our homelessness problems are taken care of. And I'm not sure that I was recognized earlier when it was trying to happen, but I can pass on that now.
Okay, thank you, Dave Wilson. If we can have Melanie Winter for 1 minute.
Melanie, go ahead. You have to unmute first and then go.
Got it.
Got it.
Okay. I'm here to speak in full-throated support of this. The People's Budget is not some little thing. It had massive participation citywide for several months. The presentation, which I hope you all watched, made to City Council a couple of days ago, was phenomenal and detailed. It really is talking about investing in services that police don't want to do, that should be done by others. It's not trying to take away public safety. It's trying to increase public safety. People's Budget, if you haven't done your research, I encourage you to do this. This is a very good motion. I support it 1,000%.
We can hear from Wayne Spindler, aka David Sindelar. For 1 minute, please.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, okay. I'm going to yield my time to my colleague. You behave yourself. Okay, yes. Regarding the People's Budget, I'm against it. And the reason why people like me, well, animals with fur and horns are against it, is because it was written by communists, communards, and other dissidents of the United States Republic. So we must put down the communist rebellion, vote no on the people's budget, and yes on the pay-to-play Paul Krikorian, Lisa Karagian, and Lisa Sarkin budget. That's the way to go. You support that? Yes, because I'm a ghost and I'm a criminal. Okay, all right.
If we can go to Eric Previn, please. 1 minute. Eric, whenever you're ready.
Go ahead, Eric. Just unmute and go.
Okay, I'll start. Correct?
Yeah, you're up.
Yes,
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I apologize. You know, the people's budget was an impressive presentation about a fact that we've known for far too long, which is that we overfund the law enforcement division dramatically. But the devil's in the detail. And when I hear people at City Hall today talking with great, you know, in unison, in chorus, about how excited they are that Nori Martinez and Herb Wesson are putting forward, you know, a motion to look at defunding the police. It's such a opportunistic, almost blasphemy, because they have been the ones who have consistently approved all overtime LAPD behavior and 4,400 tasers that nobody wanted, and way overpaying for the body cam. And we overpay for everything because it's LAPD and the lobbyists are in there angling. So whereas I do want to redistribute money that's spent with LAPD, I don't want to fire all the police. I like, you know, a high percentage of law enforcement officials and officers are good people. We have a terrible problem, and the retaliation, harassment, and, you know, discrimination lawsuits, which our own council member presides over annually, is where the problem is and where the problem lies. We have to clean house. People have to be held accountable and perform their job at the level that people want. Think of all the cell phones looking at things happening in the streets. The people being around is a good thing. And, you know, I didn't understand why there were people in riot gear when I didn't see a riot. And I think we need to move forward with redistribution in mind. So voting for this sends a message. I would urge you to vote for it.
Public comment by Zachary.
Zachary, unmute and go. There you go.
I would like to also voice my full support for this measure. I watched the brilliant presentation. If you haven't watched it, please do. It's fantastic. And just to kind of support it, I will simply say this. I know there's conservatives and libertarians listening, and I don't subscribe to the theory that government should run like a business. I'll use that metaphor and simply state that any business that you heard of that spent over 50% of its money on security would be spending its money in the wrong spot, which is what the city of OA is doing. That's too much money to spend on law enforcement. That money is better spent on social healthcare, transportation, libraries, things that will actually improve the public good, not to mention education, which really is a silver bullet. So I do believe in this, my full support for this measure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If we can hear from Rachel Tobias.
Rachel, unmute and you can go. You have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. Look, I think the people's budget is impressive. It's a start to reimagining the role of government. You know, it's very easy to jump on the bandwagon of feel-good measures like investing in housing and mental health and wellness and healthcare because we need those things in spades. But I also think we need to look at the bigger picture here and ask, before we invest in other entities, how they are falling short too, because it's not just LAPD. And sometimes throwing money at a problem isn't the solution. It's about rethinking and solving what's broken. I'm not defending each department's current budget because I do believe LA has a bloated budget problem, but I'd rather see this neighborhood council push for measures and hold funded entities accountable for their failures first before jumping on a bandwagon of supporting the people's budget because it's the only thing presented and it's quick and it's easy. And just to be clear, like, reformation definitely needs to happen, but I'm not sure this is the answer.
Thank you, Rachel. Am I correct? I believe we already heard from Dave Wilson at the top.
Yes, we did.
Okay, great. I'll hold my comments to the end, but any other board members want to make a comment on this? Nancy Kramer.
Thank you for sharing the link, Randy. I did watch the whole thing and I thought they did a really fabulous job and had some great points. But what I was really, really discouraged about is the people's budget didn't use the Studio City of the neighborhood council systems of the city to get input. And for me, that just reeked of missed opportunity for getting real voices and a real opportunity of, it was as if the voices they got were of one particular voice and not the full encompassing city voice. So I'm not supporting this motion because of that, but they had some great ideas and they presented really well.
Any other comments from board members?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I would point out that, I got to find it again now. I got too many things open. The preamble of the United States Constitution states, "We the people, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility," emphasis added, "provide for common defense, etc." The primary job of having a government is to ensure equitable law, justice, and order for all people inside the boundaries of the comity. I raised my hand in 1982 and swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States and the state of California from all enemies, foreign and domestic. At that time, at that date, I signed a check payable to all of you and everybody not listening, up to and including my life, to defend your rights. Yeah, didn't give a shit what color you were, what orientation you were, what age you were, or what status you were. And frankly, this is just beyond offensive to me. We are stating blindly obvious, as we will again in another motion later today. And I'm conflicted. I agree with the sentiment, but to think that we have to state what to me is blindly obvious in order to put my life to is offensive. Thank you.
Any other any other board comment? I apologize. Any other board members? Okay, I will just say quickly one correction, and it's unfortunate because I think that there's been a lot of different numbers flying around. The People's Budget points out, and even in their comments acknowledge, that it's 54% of the LAP of the general fund budget. That is not 54% of the budget of the City of Los Angeles. The City of Los Angeles budget is just shy of $11 billion. LAPD, while it does represent the single largest departmental budget by a mile, it is still not 54% of the total budget of the city. I also, it was a moving presentation, and I'm glad, hopefully all of you did, but I'm glad it sounds like some of you at least watched it. But I also think we have to be, I think we have to be, unfortunately in this type of situation, I think nuance matters and the details matter. And paying for mental health, that's a county issue. If the city's going to get into that business, what does that look like? How are we going to really spend that money? And is removing officers really the right thing to do? Brian gave the example of, well, if you're speeding on the freeway, it's an armed officer that pulls you over. But what happens when that unarmed person goes and they're shot by, or there's an altercation, which does sometimes happen when police officers pull over someone for speeding, whether it's for reckless, maybe they're drunk, whatever it may be. And there's an unfortunate reality that you never know what can happen. I think we can talk, maybe we need to look at the bloat in the budget, where there's definitely, which as Alex had mentioned, are issues of the pensions, some of the salaries. Maybe we should take the time to look at and write letters that are addressing some other parts of their budget. But I think to go at it with an axe and say we're inspired and we're going to literally dismantle our police department to reduce a budget of $2 billion down to $98 million, to me doesn't seem, while it seems noble, I worry about the people that are not noble. Someone, an example in their hearing, they said, when we entered City Hall, someone armed with a gun took our temperature. Shouldn't that be a health worker? And why are there armed guards here? And that's maybe a good point, but the reality is that some people enter government buildings with less than noble ideals and wish to commit harm. So I personally am against people's budget, though I do support us and would hope and encourage us to dig deep and find issues within, whether it's via our Government Affairs Committee or individually, and look specifically at LAPD, talk about maybe the need for more training. It takes longer to become a barber than it does to become an armed officer. That doesn't mean the officers aren't good people, but perhaps they need more training. Anyway, with that, let's move this motion to a vote, please. Motion 9C.
Okay. Richard Adams.
I believe he was muted again.
Oh.
He's muted. Sorry, go ahead, Richard.
No. Thank you.
Brian.
Yes.
Michael.
No.
Randy.
No.
Alex.
No.
Raduca.
Yes.
Lisa.
No.
Nancy.
No.
Richard.
No.
Jesse.
Yes.
Rick Rosner.
Yes.
Lana.
No.
Alexa. No. Adam. Absent. Joseph.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion fails.
Thank you.
Randy, if I may, thanks for your comments. They were well taken and well spoken.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, Homelessness Committee, Andrew Silver. Is he still on?
I'm here.
Oh, excellent. Excellent, my friend. So let's go ahead.
Okay, so quick report.
Hold 2 seconds.
Well, we give him those 2 seconds. Point of order. I didn't get who seconded motion 9B, the motion right before the one we just voted on. Does anybody know?
I think I did.
I think it was Richard Adams.
Yeah, I'm all in favor of discussion. I'm a First Amendment strict
Second them
advocate.
both. Okay.
Yeah, and Andrew just dropped off right after
I
he
have
started
him.
talking.
Yeah, let's have Andrew start over. Go ahead, Andrew.
Okay, thank you. We ready? Okay.
Ready.
Thank
Take it
you.
away.
Thank you to the board for making us a standing committee. It's unfortunate that a standing homelessness committee is necessary. Our commitment is to work towards solutions that eliminate the need for the committee. The annual homelessness count was released last week. I participated in the count, and I believe I think every member of the committee participated. I reviewed the census tracts during the count to make sure that we had an accurate count for Studio City to help us get resources. There is an increase of 14.2% in Los Angeles. The increase in SPA 2 is 15%. The community data is not available yet, so I don't know what the number is for Studio City. Some items of note. 2/3 of those in the count were homeless for the first time. This confirms the eviction crisis that is constantly putting new people onto the streets. If it wasn't for the huge inflow of people losing their housing every year, the homeless crisis would be solved. There's a 45% increase in families that have become homeless. And that means one or two parents with a minor child. A 20% increase in seniors over 62 years old fell into homelessness. And it's heartbreaking when I meet those people. The root cause is a lack of affordable housing. SPA 2 update. I was part of the SPA 2 steering committee this morning. Project Room Key is fully occupied. LA Family Housing runs Project Room Key in SPA 2. They have developed a strategic plan to house those coming out of Project Room Key into more permanent housing. And it's going to take some work to get that done. The rec center shelters are being wound down. Northridge and Valley Plaza will be closed soon. They've been depopulating those and transferring the people into the remaining open ones. And eventually probably a lot of those people are going to be going into the bridge housing opening up in July. There's teams in the Valley doing COVID testing twice a week, and NoHo Home Alliance is using our connections with a doctor at the county to do COVID testing at NoHo Home Alliance, which is the closest area to our Studio City area. The number of people housed has doubled since 2017. Let's see. So a big issue that is outstanding is there's eviction moratoriums now, and we don't know exactly when those restrictions will end. It's expected to be late summer or fall, but when that ends, it could create a huge problem with a wave of evicted people hitting the streets. LA Family Housing is pressing to get the homeless connected to housing faster. They are a lead. SPA 2 and LA Family Housing is a lead for a LASA program a LASA project to reduce the time to get people into housing. Shared housing is one of the focus areas to increase housing for the homeless. And shared housing just means putting as many people as you can into available units. And there's a lot of people in some small apartments happening now. And that's my update. I'd be happy to answer any questions. We can move on to 11A, our community impact statement.
I actually had a couple questions as it relates, Andrew, to your upcoming motion. I watched your meeting and also looked at the agenda. For your meeting, while you mentioned potential action, I don't actually see anywhere in your agenda, and maybe I'm wrong, I don't recall there actually being a vote by your committee for sending a CIS. So I'm wondering if you can perhaps clear that up. There was no link on your agenda mentioning a CIS, much less the sample language.
You are correct. That is because the CIS was passed at our March meeting, and it didn't make it onto last month's board meeting because that was between March and May there was a gap there, so it didn't make it onto the last meeting. So this is actually passed at our March meeting, and it's just hitting your agenda.
I understand. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Moving on, we're proposing a community impact statement in support of Council 200215. The motion is currently pending in committee. The motion directs state HAP money into CD2 for homeless outreach services. This is already budgeted and allocated state funds. The money's already there. We just want the money coming to CD2. There's a desperate need for outreach services, which have been reduced due to COVID. The LASA teams, and actually most of the LA Family Housing teams that did street outreach have been pulled to manage Project Room Key, and also some of the rec center operations as well. So we need this funding. We need more outreach workers. I urge you to support this community impact statement to direct funds for outreach to the homeless in our community. Thank you.
Okay, any board comment?
I'm sorry, I was blocked from a whole bunch of this. What are we talking about again?
I'm talking about motion 10A, which is for homeless committee sending a community impact statement. Community impact statement his committee approved in March, but because of the pandemic, et cetera, we were never able to get
This would be CIS regarding file 2215?
That is correct.
Okay, I don't know if I have that open. Give me one moment, please. Bear with me. There it is.
I see that there's some. All right, so while you're looking it up, Richard, I'm just
2060692 or a different one?
No, the different one. 20-0215.
Oh, I've got that now.
Great. So,
okay, and this is one thing we've already passed already?
No, it has not come before the board before. It was passed by committee.
Okay, so, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. If we could do a quick public comment, Dave Wilson, for 1 minute.
Dave, go ahead and unmute and you can speak. You have to unmute first.
I don't have a comment on this other than I object about all of it.
Okay.
Thank you. If we can hear from Wayne Spindler, please, for 1 minute.
Wayne, unmute and you can talk.
Go ahead. Yes. I am extremely thrilled to hear that the homeless criminals are being thrown out of our recreation centers. It brings warmth and joy to my heart to get them out of there so we can go back and play basketball and volleyball. As soon as we have a COVID cure, which should happen around 2025. So we're on a good pace. And yes, begrudgingly, I have to say that in this case, you're doing a good job. Goat Puppet supports the motion, yes. Well, that's outstanding. Yes, I yield my time back. I'm very proud of you, Mr. Puppet. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric Previn, 1 minute.
Eric, unmute and you can talk.
Yeah, thank you. I have to say the report on homelessness recently was so bleak, and everybody knows it's only going to get worse. And it was upsetting to hear that outreach workers are doing Project Roomkey, but I guess, you know, someone has to do that work, which is a strange kind of work because I don't know where it goes. It goes to a short-term solution, but then what? And now reaching out for more outreach money. I hate arguments like the money's already there. How about we really, because if we're going to be talking about defunding the law enforcement brigade, I mean, how are we going to realistically do this? We have a mental health department with thousands of workers at the county, but they don't go out and help people. People are just dying on the streets in various ways. People are falling apart because they can't pay rent, and we just don't have a system. So I don't know. I mean, does LA Family Housing have a plan? Well, how's the plan going? Because it's now 15% worse than when we poured a historic amount of money, including Measure H. Now, I'm not angry at anyone.
Time.
Okay, well, to address that briefly, it is new people falling into homelessness that is making the problem worse. And until housing gets addressed and people can afford their rent, and there's a reduction in evictions, that's the problem that we're facing.
Can I make a comment?
Please.
Yeah, I mean, we just keep hearing this on and on, Andrew, and really, I don't know how you can say this with a straight face that this is all about a downtrodden society. The the credit crisis happened over 10 years ago. We've actually had a very strong economy in the last few years. This narrative that you bring up, I mean, don't you understand that this is a mental health and drug addiction problem? We've been saying this for the last 4 years, but because there's a whole infrastructure that pays a lot of people to keep pushing this BS narrative. I mean, we're supposed to just listen to it. Get the people off the street. We need a solution. We don't need everything that's been propagated up to now has been an absolute failure. You're saying that there's more people losing their homes and more people losing their jobs. I mean, I'm in the economy. I'm in real estate. This is a complete BS. It's all BS. Let's change. Let's recalibrate and get these poor people off the street because they need help. They need mental help and they need addiction help. So let's start with that narrative and stop with this bull crap. Thank you.
So respectfully, I would just ask my fellow board members, again, I know it's an impassioned and sometimes angering issue, things we hear, but if we can just perhaps keep ourselves from yelling at a committee chair or someone giving a report. I get it. We can try to contain our tempers.
I second that motion. May I speak?
Please.
All righty. Back in the 80s, I was young, dumb, and living up the Bay Area, thinking I was going to college. I've been homeless. These days, if I were to pick a fight with herself and push it as far as I could, I would be homeless again. But I am rational. I'm not a drug addict. I'm not a drunkard. And if I would find myself on the streets, I would hie myself to all the resources that are out there, to include an email to Sean Smith. I would get with whichever program I needed to get myself back into housing, back on my feet, and back into being a productive member of society, given all my health care issues, that my body would let me. Why? Because I'm sane. And, I get where this is. There is a small group of people who have bad things happen to their lives. And I met them working at Vaughn's. They were working at Vaughn's. They were out by Vaughn's and a few other places. And they got with the program, and they got into housing, and they got things taken care of. It's unfortunate that the vast majority of our people that are on the streets, living on the river, living in the doorways, living wherever, are mentally ill, and I'm a health provider, in other words, and trust me, from experience, even in prisons, you cannot make them take the medications they need to get their brain back. And there are addicts that enjoy being addicts, and there are people that just want to, screw you, I want to spend the rest of my life getting high, having sex, doing what I want, and working sucks. So we didn't get here overnight. We're not going to get out of this overnight. And the government had a huge portion in creating this problem. So Band-Aids and, oh, I feel good, aren't going to fix it. Thank you.
Raduca, please. And just if we can be mindful of the time.
Yeah. I mean, just allow me. Okay.
No, of course, please. Thank you.
Okay, I am a mental health practitioner, and homelessness is partially due to that, but it's not as much as it's, okay. I think I'm not the only person who knows that an economic boom that this country has experienced has thinned out the middle class. So I really encourage that when we talk about mental health, we actually know what mental health is, because mental health, a big portion is nature and nurture, and nurture involves the environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
I support what Raduca said as a healthcare person myself.
Any other, I see Mr. Carroll, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to push back a little bit on the sentiment that if you were homeless, then all you have to do is just stop being homeless. For myself, and I don't like to bring this up much, but I will now, it's like I also briefly experienced homelessness. And I wasn't a drug addict or, mentally whatever, I was just a person. But, at the same time, if anyone saw me back then, they wouldn't question. They wouldn't say, oh, maybe that's one of the good ones. That's one of the ones we want to take care of. Like every single person on the street is dismissed at point value from a large section of the population. And I know it firsthand. And I know it's not everybody. And I know there's a lot of nuance in here, but I can push back and saying they're not all mentally ill. And if they are, they should get help. The myth that people are rejecting services as a majority is wrong. And we all like to point to the good examples of the people who succeeded and got off the street in the most successful way possible in this miracle. I can tell you, it was not a miracle. It was partly luck. It was partly white privilege. It was partly, I'm a guy, I can clean up well. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's like if someone wanted to pass judgment on me, and they did, that's what the opinion stood, and they didn't care what the actual circumstances were.
And I totally agree with that.
Can we hear from Nancy, please?
So the motion that we have on the table right now, or that we have on the floor, is to get our $450,000 into CD2. It is not about all the ins and outs of the homelessness issue, which I think needs a huge town hall and all the voices, but this is not the time and the place for that. I think right now we have to focus on the motion. And if I'm mistaken, why don't we just get our fair share of the money that's supposed to be coming to this area?
Agreed. Thank you, Nancy. With that, let's move this motion to a vote.
Okay. Richard Adams,
Yes.
Brian Carroll,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Raduca,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Richard, Niederberg,
I think he's saying yes, but he's
Yes,
muted.
but he's muted.
There he is.
okay, Jesse,
Yes.
Rick Rosner,
Yes.
Lana,
Yes.
Alexa, yes, Adam, absent, Joseph,
Yes.
motion carries.
Great. If we can look at motion 10B, go ahead, Andrew Silver.
Thank you, Randy. I've already addressed the differences between 10A. Okay, so we're working on a different numbering system because I have the updated one, and you're working
Okay,
on the
apologies.
old one.
Yes, apologies. 11.
So the other one, I've already addressed the differences. Mr. Niederberg mentioned the politically sounding nature of the prior motion. Mine is not a political document. It's not meant to be. It's meant to express the frustration of these encampments, and we're not getting the attention that we should. And so it's I used as non-political language as I could, and I urge the board to approve the transmission of this letter to Councilman Krikorian. Thank you.
Any board comment?
I am conflicted on this statement.
Go ahead.
As I said, I raised my right hand in November of 1982. I took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that includes all the rights and privileges included in both constitutions. I signed a check with my life that was payable up to and including my life to you and every other citizen of this city, this state, and the country. And for somebody to come around and say, oh, well, you're in favor of injustice or racism or whatever is a bodily insult to everything I put my life at risk for. And while I appreciate the sense where this is coming from, I find it horrifically offensive. Nothing more. I put my life on the line.
Thank you.
For you.
Thank you. We have public comment. Any other board comments?
Yeah, I do have one. I actually like this letter a great deal. My only issue with it is the last paragraph that says there are nowhere for the people in the underpass encampments to go, and which is true. The shelters are full. We get that. The best we can do is manage the encampments. That language to me is troublesome because it gives the city an out to do nothing, to just try and manage it. Oh, well, we're not going to try and house these people. We're just going to manage it down there. And Studio City is fine with that. And I think that that sentiment is the only thing in the entire letter that I just have a problem with. It bothers me that we're telling the city that it's okay to just manage this encampment rather than try and find these people's homes, get them into the program, use outreach to get them into the system and process folks and try and move them along and encourage finding housing. This sounds like it's okay if we just let them stay there. That's my only objection to the motion.
Did you want to make a friendly amendment to change the wording?
I would leave that up to Andrew if he's willing to amend.
We can talk about it. First of all, I want to assure you that the commitment of LASA, and I was on the phone this morning with the CEO and Chief Program Officer of LA Family Housing. The system is committed to housing the homeless people, but we just can't. We're not going to get that done in the short term. And so the encampments have to be managed. I don't know how else to say that. We're not going to eliminate them in the next 6 months, in the next year. So and we can't ignore them, and they have to be managed.
It just bothered me that we are sort of giving the city permission to not actually follow through and use the systems that are there to move people into housing as we can. Well,
what I'm saying is we have to do both, because there isn't an immediate resolution. So we have to do both.
Lana, go ahead.
Just tag teaming on what Michael said about the sentence about managing. Maybe we need to spell out our expectations of what the management of those encampments would be until there is some housing. What are our expectations that would be for our community in this situation? And I have a question for Andrew. What is HMST? That is not, I didn't see that.
We passed that. That's a motion we passed earlier this year.
Well, it's not spelled out in this letter. I mean, just, it should say what it is. HMST, it should be spelled out and then in parentheses and then referred to later in the letter. So I have no idea what HMST means.
Okay, so HMST stands for homeless, it's getting late, I'm sorry. Homeless Multi-Disciplinary Street Team, there you go. And it is a program that has been initiated in Santa Monica that uses data tools from LAPD and LAFD to identify and target services to the most problematic and most difficult homeless people.
Which is different than the care teams. I mean, do these work in tandem, the care teams and the HMST, the Homeless Multidisciplinary Street Team? Do they work in tandem? Do they communicate? What's going on with all of these new acronyms?
Okay, so they are new. Care teams was just implemented in October, and we passed our resolution in support of that, I believe, in July last year, so about a year ago. HMST was just contracted by LASA in May, I believe. So these are new programs. They work separately. They don't work in tandem. Care teams have a very specific operation protocol about how they work with encampments and engage in encampments, engage with the people there, and maintain sanitation and compliance with the law.
And who do they report? Who do the care teams report to? Where does that data go to? And why isn't it shared or complemented by the HMST?
So care teams are managed by LA Sanitation, and care teams and HMST. I'm working in conjunction with the city attorney's office and the councilman's office and LA Family Housing in implementation of HMST. So these are completely separate things. Care teams manage the sanitation and law in the encampments. HMST targets high use of law enforcement and EMS services, and targets services to those individuals to get them off the streets, and cost savings to the taxpayers for using HMST intervention as opposed to LAPD intervention is 43%. So it's getting these people off the street using the tools that they need to address their problems, and is saving the taxpayers money.
So that's a free service?
It's not free. It has a budget attached to it, and Sheila Kuehl's office is committed to picking up a good portion of that tab.
Nothing is
pays
free.
For most of it in Santa Monica. And the motion that just passed for outreach services would also, a good portion of that would go to HMST as well.
I would just say, just for the clarity, for practices of writing letters, please put homeless multidisciplinary street team, and then in parentheses, HMST.
I can assure you that the councilman and his staff know what these terms are and these programs.
Yeah, well, that's fine, but I'm just saying, please, for our records going forward, that is protocol whenever you write a letter.
I understand. Thank you.
Nancy, go ahead.
Okay, well, I'm just going to try to keep things rolling here. I move that we strike the second and third sentences of the very last paragraph.
Second.
I could also offer an amendment to that language. I was thinking about it, and if it said the best we can do is manage the encampments with the goal of housing these individuals, or something like that, something of that nature, like at least, pivot it towards action, towards ending homelessness, rather than just saying let them be there.
I think that makes sense too, because also remember, we shouldn't talk about encampments as if they are fixed, or that the residents of encampments are fixed, because they're absolutely
and I feel horrible talking about it, and I feel horrible talking about it this way, because these are people, and all of us are a few steps away from being there. So
what's your language, Michael?
How about until housing is available? Hello? Oh, there we are.
We're noting.
Where are we putting this?
It's the last paragraph.
Assuming I'm looking at the right document.
So just adding those words you're saying, correct, Andrew?
Yeah. So after the word community, until housing is available.
Oh, okay.
Can we vote on that?
Are you also going to make the adjustment
We
for
can amend
the
that.
homeless?
Yeah, and by the way, I want to point out that notice on the second page, item 3, connect the inhabitants to outreach workers and housing resources. So that the motion does call for providing housing resources.
I see actually we have public comment quickly. If we can go to Wayne Spindler and then Eric Previn.
Wayne?
Yes, go ahead. Yes, a friendly amendment, if I may. We, in the generic sense, we of Studio City hereby move that no homeless encampments will be placed anywhere south of North Hollywood. And we should fence the entire region of North Hollywood away from the wonderful folks of Valley Village, and that will create a sufficient barrier and buffer to Studio City. And then the homeless criminals can roam around that area where the park and that library are. Send them there, and then we'll get them housing. And then everything will look so pretty in Studio City. So all the actors and actresses can go to work in the morning and not feel threatened. That motion. I'll second that motion. Thank you, sir. And I think Lisa will also co-sponsor that amendment. So I yield my time.
Time.
Very nice.
Eric Previn for 1 minute.
There you go.
Thank you. And, you know, I'm just a little bit speechless about, maybe I'll just withhold my comment for the moment, but I just want to say that the way we go about solving the homeless crisis in Los Angeles is not working, even a little. And I just don't, I wish that people understood that there are models that work, like in San Antonio, Texas, Haven of Hope, where you have a campus where people can be properly taken care of. In other countries, we don't have this problem quite the same. I mean, it happens all over, but it's a disaster. And, you know, I just would say Lana's absolutely right that acronyms for complicated bureaucratic nonsense should be explained. It's very hard to follow. And frankly, there's a lot of, I don't want to be untoward, but fraud, because people rename things and add, there's all this basically bullshit. And it's unfortunate because it costs the taxpayers a fortune and it's hemorrhaging badly. It's not working. And I don't mean to be critical of those who are on the front lines trying, but it's not working. And
time.
Thank you. Okay.
Randy, can I make a motion quickly in the interest of time that we limit public comment to 30 seconds instead of a minute?
What?
Objection.
Go ahead, Richard.
The purpose of neighborhood council is to listen to stakeholders, all stakeholders.
I'm not saying we're not going
opinions.
to listen.
No, ma'am, no disrespect. I understand where you're coming from. But the purpose of neighborhood council is to listen to all viewpoints, etc. The person in charge, president, etc., committee chair is entitled to restrict them. But if we do not listen to people, our stakeholders, we have no valid reason to exist, because our only reason to exist is to listen to the people we represent. And if we don't hear what their opinion is, we ain't representing them. I'm done.
Great. Let's. Can we bring? So we're gonna vote on motion 10B. So if we can, as amended.
Okay. Richard
Can we
Adams.
read the amendment, please?
Just the last paragraph.
There is nowhere for the people in the underpass encampments to go. Therefore, the
So
encampments.
4 hours after now.
Pardon? Should I?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Rajuka was not muted. She wasn't speaking to you. Go ahead.
Okay. Therefore, the encampments must be managed for the protection of the health and safety of the community until housing is available.
Okay, so let's make a vote, please.
Richard Adams.
Excuse me, I've forgotten which one we're voting on.
The motion is on 10B. The Board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council approves sending a letter requesting action on Studio City homeless encampments in response to community petition.
So that would be actually 9B on mine because I don't have the new improved one.
No,
correct?
It's 10B. No, it's 10B on the old one, 11B on the new improved.
With the addition of the underpass at Coldwater in my neighborhood? Yes.
The letter does not address any specific encampment. So,
it's not. Okay, then which council file were we talking? Which
this
Motion
is
file I
10B, a
got?
letter requesting.
Okay, I've got a. God damn it, that's not what I wanted. Pardon my French. Okay, support documents.
Okay, so if
I'll pass while you. Okay, I don't see anything in the file I got from Brian saying a letter requesting. Pass me, and would somebody please PM me what the hell we're voting on, and I'll vote after.
Brian?
Yeah. Yes. Sorry.
Are you ready to vote?
Yes. Your vote, Brian Carroll.
My vote is yes.
Okay. Michael?
Yes.
Randy?
Yes.
Alex?
No.
Raduca?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Rick Rosner?
Yes.
Lana?
Yes, and please update to reflect homeless multidisciplinary street team. Thank you.
Alexa? Yes. Adam? Absent. Joseph?
Yes.
Richard, are you ready to vote?
I don't know what we're voting on because I've got all the files open from Brian, but
I just emailed you the link.
So abstain?
The file starts with
It's
the word
from
petition.
It's from the homeless committee.
I'm saying I just want to know what I'm voting on.
The file starts with the word petition, if that helps.
But I just sent him the letter.
He can't view Google Docs. That's the problem.
Oh.
Okay, so out of the files you sent me, Brian, which one are we talking about?
The file name starts with the word petition.
I'm going to take a picture of it.
I don't have that. I have peace and justice resolution and, oh, there we go, petition. Forgive me. Give me one moment.
I'm going to go get a drink.
I vote in favor, yes.
Okay. Motion carries.
Thank you for your indulgence.
Thank you. Motion carries. Moving forward, Andrew Silver, your last motion, 10C, the Board of Studio City Neighborhood Council approves a statement drafted by the Homeless Committee on Racism. Can you please read your statement? Or let me take a step backwards. Has everyone on the board read his statement?
I have.
Okay, I see some hands didn't go up. That could be the late hour because you haven't read it. So please give it a quick read, Andrew, or if you'd like, I'm happy to read it for you. Whatever you prefer is fine by me.
Oh, go ahead.
In the interest of the Brown Act, I politely suggest you read it.
I'm reading it now. The Homelessness Committee of the Studio City Neighborhood Council acknowledges that racism and bias continue to plague our nation and our community. These social injustices lead to the perpetuation of homelessness. African Americans are 8% of the population of Los Angeles, but make up 42% of the homeless population. The same animosity, stereotypes, and vitriol that is directed at the homeless population is the same racism and hatred that is being posted in the streets now. There is a direct link to racism and the homelessness crisis. The Homelessness Committee of the Studio City Neighborhood Council rejects the systemic racism inherent in our society. The Homelessness Committee has worked and will continue to educate the community on the adverse effects of racism and hatred in our community. We commit to call it out when racism and prejudice of any kind is expressed and work to improve inclusiveness in our community. And I will add my comment to that. Racism is contributed to and remains intertwined with homelessness. Historic and institutional racism has had a direct impact on the homeless crisis today. Let me quote the deed to my house, and I pulled it out and read it this morning. I'm not kidding. No lot in said tract shall at any time be lived upon by any person whose blood is not entirely that of the Caucasian race. It says that in the deed to my house. It then goes on to list several ethnicities to clarify they are not Caucasian. Even though redlining was technically outlawed in 1968, it persisted well into the 1980s. And I have personally witnessed that in the course of my career. This institutional racism led to reduced employment and wealth accumulation opportunities that persist today. If we are going to end homelessness, we must recognize these biases and address them. I urge you to support this motion. Thank you.
I see we have public comment. If we can hear from Wayne, please, Spindler.
Yes. If Lisa could hold up what she's drinking for the record, so we can join in her activity. So, I stopped drinking. Well, I drink. Okay, fine. I'm a drunk. All right, now we have all of this racism. Yes, of course we have racism, and you know that people. I mean, I'm a goat, for example, and people discriminate against me because I have horns and because I have a tail and because I have fur. But I feel since I'm a sentient being, I should be equal to you. But I can't be seen on Zoom. I can only be heard. Why is my face not there? Because you discriminate against goats. You discriminate against blacks. The same way you treat blacks like goats. And we, the oppressed, are tired, and we want reparations. Give us each $1 million to move to Ventura County. Thank you.
Okay, so is there any board comment on this? Okay, then let's vote, please.
Richard Adams.
Abstain.
Brian Carroll.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Randy.
Yes.
Alex.
No.
Raduca.
Yes.
Lisa.
Yes.
Nancy.
No.
Richard.
Abstain.
Did he say abstain?
He did.
Okay. Jesse.
Yes.
Rick.
Yes.
Lana.
Abstain.
Alexa. Yes. Adam. Absent. Joseph.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you, Andrew Silver. Have a good night. Land use, please.
Well, hello, everyone. I'd like to, first and foremost, thank Land Use Committee member Richard Niederberg in helping me assemble this motion. So I'll go ahead and just start out by reading it, and then I'll give you a little background on it. The Studio City Neighborhood Council supports, with exception, the approval of case number ZA-95-0305-PA, consistent with the terms and conditions of the originally issued conditional use permit to allow the continued sale and dispensing of alcoholic beverages for on-site consumption within the previous approved master plan application for 3 licensed premise restaurants within the existing square footage envelopes and previously permitted seating, except that existing condition number 8 shall remain in full force and effect for an additional 10 years. So this is a master plan approval consisting of 3 restaurants, the Daily Grill, Tender Green, and a new restaurant that's about to open up in the Laurel Promenade on the corner of Laurel Canyon and Ventura Boulevard. It is a master plan with 3 of these restaurants for the consumption of alcohol and distribution. So it's pretty straightforward. They've all had these licenses for a very long time. Their 10 years up. That's why they came back to use for approval for an additional 10 years. Because they are in one shopping center, they go into the one master plan. We did request for them to keep the operations running with the escalators on a regular basis and the elevators clean. And having said that, it's pretty straightforward. We've never had any red flags or any complaints coming out of these restaurants. So we would like your support and your vote.
Any board comments?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I've been active with the Land Use Committee for well over a decade. I was public safety chair for a while, and it was under when I was running it, we would attempted to review requests for renewal of these because certain parties in the neighborhood said, oh my God, we have too many of these. Neither the ABC at the state level, nor the LAPD, nor anybody else ever saw any problem with the alcohol licenses in Studio City. At least not generic, oh my God, this place serves nothing but drunks, and they go out and raise hell. And the cost of having a licensed premises here on Ventura, etc., is incredibly expensive. These people cannot stay in business without the additional revenue of selling beer, wine, etc. They are enjoined by state law to not overserve. And the biggest complaints we've ever had is more noise than everything else. And I would strongly urge the entire board to vote in favor of this. Our stakeholders here, the business owners on Ventura that own restaurants, etc., always have a hard row to hoe, and it's gotten harder since January of this year through the Chi-Com crud stupidity, and we need to stand by them. There is no evidence they're a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Any other comments? Let's move this to a vote, please.
Richard has a comment. Niederberg.
We have
yeah, I was going to say that even though I'm a teetotaler, basically, that stuff should still be there. There's no hassle. Besides that, we're really there looking at how is the community affected by parking and by traffic, and this does not affect these at all because they're existing.
Great, thank you.
Underground parking.
Great, thank you. If we can move to vote, please.
Richard Adams,
Yes.
Brian,
Same.
abstain,
Yes.
Michael,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Raduca,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Richard Niederberg,
Yes.
Jesse Porter,
Yes.
Rick Rosner,
Yes.
Lana,
Yes.
Alexa, yes, Adam, absent, Joseph,
Yes.
motion passes.
You all. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Niederberg.
Real quick, we had a couple weeks ago we had a presentation in the library about all of the different railways and stuff in the valley, such as Pacific Electric and so the Pacific, etc. Well attended by Zoom. It was a lot of fun. We have another one coming up dealing with the trains in the movies. Also presented to the library, also by Zoom. I will include. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Bylaws. Actually, if we
Well, you know what, Rand?
go ahead.
Just let me just go with it because we'll do it. We can't merge in the resolution.
I have one note. We did forget to take public comment on the alcohol.
Oh.
You're correct. Mr. Sindlar, Wayne, please. 1 minute.
I'm sorry, Wayne, go ahead. My apologies.
Yes, and thank you to Mr. Delazar, fine gentleman doing a good job. So we will have to reconsider that vote, reopen public comment on those liquor licenses. But what Lisa is forgetting is that we should be waiving all of the city fees on these fine businesses on Ventura Boulevard. Let's give them a waiver of their fees to try to help them stay in business. Because if they go out of business, you know who's going to go in there. Homeless criminals and gang members. And we don't want them in Studio City, do we? Hell no. All right. So let's give these businesses a big shout out. And there has never been in the history of Mr. Spindler or myself a single incidence of violence from any of these establishments. Not one. Not a single problem. Model people. Thank you so much. Yeah, that's good. Yes, that's very good. Yes.
Eric Previn for 1 minute.
Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I only need about 10 seconds, which is to say that I'm deeply hurt that members of the board don't want public comment to continue, because I think that it's the most interesting part of the evening, but thank you.
Hey, bylaws, please.
Okay. First of all, congratulations to the board, to the bylaws committee, to their former chair, and to the stakeholders. You now have a new voting, our bylaws passed, so that all stakeholders will be able to vote for all seats with affirmation, just saying they're a stakeholder at the next neighborhood council elections. Congratulations. We still have 23 people.
Question.
No, I'm doing a report, not yet.
Yes, dear.
I guess you interrupted me. Go ahead.
At this point, it's
No.
free for all.
I thought you were
Let's
done.
make the night longer.
Right? I'm gonna go put my jammies on.
Do you really need to say something, Richard? What you got?
What's the under over that this ends before midnight? Okay, go ahead, Richard, please. Succinct.
I was under the impression that last month we voted down allowing anybody and everybody to vote for any board seat.
Okay.
And
okay.
from what Miss Nancy just said, I'm confused.
I will tell you. So what the board did do is in September, they voted for bylaws and operating procedures. It passed unanimously, I think. From everything after that point was an amendment to that motion. So in November, we had an amendment that passed. That was the last one. That passed. Every motion that we had brought afterwards was an amendment to that November motion. And so those kept falling. So what passed was the November that we had approved with, and then of course Dunn did what it does to, and we'll be addressing those right now.
Yeah.
So that's how that happened. Is that clear?
So this was, the motion last month was actually duplicitous. Thank you very much.
It was not duplicitous. It was so clear. I have been so clear.
Yeah, no, it was not clear. We will agree to disagree, and we will not drag this meeting on any longer. Thank you.
Moving on. Okay. So motion 13A, the Studio City Neighborhood Council Board approves the Peace and Justice Resolution 2020. Comment?
And that is a motion that I co-wrote, again, with input from several board members. There's language in here from everybody. I was really pleased that it felt like everybody who responded, I managed to fit their language in, even if it was just a word. I'm very proud of this motion. So it comes with board input. It's an important message that we're standing up in support of peaceful protests, and we're doing it in a resolution, and I would urge the board to pass it.
And we have a friendly amendment to it. Richard Adams, I'm so tired. Innumerable. What was your amendment, Richard, again?
Okay, two things. One is a grammar. Be it resolved that at the very first, be it resolved. The second one is that constitutional rights are enumerated in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, the first 10 amendments, which was a requirement for the states to even approve our Constitution and bring it into life. My rights, your rights, our stakeholders' rights, everybody's rights exist a priori. The government, any government, all governments. We are human beings. We have rights. Our founding fathers went on at length at that. If somebody doesn't believe me, I've got a copy of the Federalist Papers. They will cheerfully loan to people who've never seen it before. And if this isn't amended to reflect this actual historical fact, I cannot and will not vote in favor of something that goes against what I stood up, as I said earlier, swore my life to defend. Thank you.
So with that, his amendment is to strike granted and insert enumerated.
Seconded.
Move to vote.
And the resolve that. There's a comma missing or a resolve.
Right. Second. Move to vote.
Good. Go, Alexa.
Oh, sorry. I was trying to unmute myself. Richard Adams.
I already raised my right hand in November 1982 to uphold, defend this.
Yes or no?
Hell yes.
Yes or no? Okay.
I swore my life to do this for you people. Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Randy.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Raduca.
Yes.
Lisa.
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Jesse.
Yes.
Rick. Rosner.
Unmute.
Uncorrect.
Yeah. Sorry.
Lana.
Yes.
Alexa. Yes. Joseph.
Yes.
Passive.
Motion carries. Moving on. Okay, 13 and 14, whatever number.
Did you call Niederberg?
Oh.
I thought I did.
No, you didn't. But the
Do it
Oh,
again.
Richard.
Hold on. We actually, it looks like we missed, we did not take public comment from Mr. Swinberg. And
Before we vote, or before we end the vote, maybe we can talk.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Go ahead, Wayne. No, he's not even unmuting himself now.
Oh, darn. Moving on.
I spoke too
right.
soon.
So you have to go to the bottom and unmute it. I know. I'm trying to learn this damn thing. Anyway, that's what you get with a $1,000 iPhone. All right. So what do we have here? We have an oath to protect and defend the U.S. Constitution. Well, all of you took the same oath. You forgot, didn't you? You know, Mr. Adams took the oath, and Mr. Spindler took it 3 times. No, I took it twice. Well, you know that little boo-boo in the 80s. No, I took it twice. That's not on record. Okay, but the point is that read the Federalist Papers. The Founding Fathers were slave owners. They loved black people. So be sure as a friendly amendment to remind everybody on June 19th, called Juneteenth, that the Founding Fathers loved black slaves. Thus, they loved black people and would be proud of us today in our evolution. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Did we finish the vote?
Niederberg?
What?
He voted.
Oh, okay.
Already did.
Yeah.
Moving on, 13B. I kind of would like to merge 13B and 13C together, if that's okay.
Yes.
Second. And I actually don't think we really need to vote on them because these were put forward by Bonk. So I think they're just.
Oh, no, we do. We'll just do it fast. But basically what we're doing is we're moving the language, we're removing all of our language that we currently have under both censure and removal, and we're inserting required language by Bonk as an attachment. And it's literally Bonk's language that's the attachment.
We have public comment from Mr. Spindler again.
There you go. Yes. Now this is the one issue, and the goat puppet has information about this item, secret information for now, that you're going to do something very naughty with this new thing. Yes, you're going to do something naughty, and we're on to you. And that's why Kramer is trying to sweep it under the rug. So just remember that every person, no matter if they have a tail or horns or large, pretty ears like myself, has a First Amendment right away from the board when they serve the board and on the board. And somebody there is going to try to do something very sneaky very soon. And soon you will see it in citywatch.com, right? If they write it. Well, they'll write it because they are doing something sneaky. They're learning from Paul Krikorian. They're getting like him every day. Yes.
Call to vote?
Vote.
Call to vote? Anybody have any questions?
Nope. Vote.
No, let's vote.
We'll call the vote. Richard Adams?
We're voting on which one now? You lost me.
We merged both, or Nancy merged both motion 13B and 13C.
Hey. Well, they're required by Dunn. We have no choice. We don't vote in favor of it. They're going to shove it up our nose anyway. Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Randy?
Muted.
That's a thumbs up.
Okay.
Yes,
Alex?
sir.
Yes.
Wait, excuse me. We voted in favor of the peace and justice. Did we amend
That was amended.
the peace and justice?
Yes.
No.
Can we not
Point
do
of
that
order.
in the middle of a vote? Point of order.
Point of
Can we
order.
do that in the middle of a vote?
Point of order. Did we amend the, I'm trying to find it.
Richard, let's finish the vote and then come back to that.
Well, no, because it will change my vote.
Richard,
But
catch
that's
up.
already
You
been
already
voted.
voted on it.
Richard,
You
we're not
already
voting.
No,
voted.
but I voted in error.
Well, now's a fine time. It's moved on, just like football.
We're
If
done.
they snap the
We
ball,
ain't
you move
playing
on.
football, we're playing government.
Reduca,
Okay.
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Nancy,
Yes.
Richard, Niederberg,
Yeah, whatever bunk gets.
Jesse,
Yes.
Rick Rosner,
Yes.
Lana,
Yes.
Alexa, yes, Joseph.
Yeah.
The motion's passed.
And my objection stands.
Okay.
Well, you objected too late.
To answer your question, Richard, we did amend to include the word innumerable in place of inalienable as per your request.
Enumerated.
Enumerated.
Thank you very much. That was my point.
What,
and
I'm sorry,
I
wasn't
thank
enumerated in place of granted, I thought.
And I thank you and the bringer of the motion because that is historically accurate. And I apologize for delaying this meeting any longer.
Thank
but
you. I'm moving on.
This is the way meetings work.
Motion 13.
I will shut up.
The newly labeled
Okay,
operating.
13, D, E, and F, I would love to do those as without objection. They'll be passed, but I will quickly tell you what they're about, right? 13D, the Studio City Neighborhood Council Board approves the newly labeled operating procedures. Let me just tell you what happened. I wrote the bylaws. I promised I would take everything out of the bylaws and put it in operating. I did. Didn't change any words. I just moved it into operating. But it's a mess, and there's no numbering, and there's no way to reference anything in the future. So all I did was put numbering on the operating procedures, and I moved some of the language in the officers' descriptions, but I didn't delete anything and I didn't add anything. So without objection, that motion passes.
So you're just fixing things that were.
Right.
Yes.
They're just fixes.
They're not even fixes. It's so that we can fix it later with clarity.
We're talking about 13B now or 14B, whichever it is.
The labels.
No, we have moved on to D, E, and F.
Well, D, this is D.
Pardon me, D.
Does anybody have any objections with adding labels?
No.
Okay, great. It's
Motion
passed.
carries.
Motion
Passed.
carries. 13E, the Studio City Neighborhood Council Board approves striking recording throughout the operating procedures wherever recording secretary appears. We're just trying to make it consistent with the bylaws now so that there's a secretary and a corresponding secretary on the neighborhood council going forward. There's no such thing as a recording secretary.
Perfect.
Without objection?
Yeah, I object. We've made entirely too many changes to our bylaws without credence to historical problems and abuses, etc., that have occurred historically.
I'm sorry, Richard, this isn't your name.
Respectfully,
Point of order. It's not your
yeah,
name.
respectfully, it's not. It's
This is
Okay, let me
operating.
try this again.
Let's call
We have had too many issues historically because I've been active with neighborhood council almost on 20 years now, unlike a lot of people here.
Common is not.
And undoubtedly, I will be here long after a lot of other people because public service is ingrained in my blood. And frankly, most of the things that people want to change now were put in place due to previous abuses. And you weren't here for them, and you understand why they're there, and you want to change them.
Respectfully,
and frankly, so with all due respect, I believe you are wrong. So then,
You need Richard.
Okay, then let's do a roll call
Adams.
vote. Then we'll do a roll call vote.
Okay, roll call vote.
Richard Adams, I'd like for you to catch up and read this and see clearly that she is eliminating a word that is not even used in the positions category.
Title.
all right, Lana, with all due respect, none of these documents were appended to our agenda so that myself or any other board member or stakeholder could see what the hell we're voting on.
Well, why didn't you say that to start with, Richard, instead of going off on some tangent?
Lana,
I appreciate it.
I love you. I did.
I love you.
Respectfully, there's no additional attachment needed. The statement is rather clear. It is removing, instead of calling the recording secretary in documentation, our operating procedures are going to complement our bylaws. Instead of saying recording secretary, it is simply going to say secretary. There's no grand subterfuge or changes. We are simply removing the word recording. So with that, we move to a vote, please. Roll call.
Richard Adams.
Abstain with objection.
Okay, Brian.
Yes.
Michael.
Yes.
Randy.
Yes.
Alex.
Yes.
Raduca.
Yes.
Lisa.
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Jesse.
Yes.
Rick Rosner.
Yep.
Lana.
Yes.
Alexa. Yes. Joseph.
Staying.
Abstain. Motion passes.
Great. Next.
13F. I'm going to try one more time.
Mr. Spindler has a comment.
Go ahead, Mr. Spindler.
Yes, again, you'll have to go back and revote this after my public comment, or I'll be filing a grievance with Dunn. How about them bananas? Yes. Oh, bananas, come on, that's racist. How about them cherries? That's better. So again, we noted also, according to what I saw in my video, I believe that Lisa was talking to herself. So maybe that goblet is a little too full of that box wine. So we have to put down the wine.
Point of order.
Put down the alcohol and embrace sobriety and embrace these motions. But yes, I agree with Mr. R. These motions are garbage. They were not posted. I don't know what you're voting on, but it's evil, it's wrong, and I move that this vote be suspended until further investigation by the FBI done and the Department of Justice. Thank you very much.
Let's make a point. These are both the old and new bylaws and operating all matter of public record. Anybody could check them without being republished. They haven't changed. You're just moving them. So what happens is they were already printed and published and have been for years. You're just moving the area, the pagination.
Thank you, Richard. Moving on to motion 13F.
13F, the Studio City Neighborhood Council Board approves operating procedures, Article 3, Section 2, Paragraph 3. Strike in entirety, ad hoc committees are not subject to the provisions of the Brown Act and not allowed to take action of the council. So this is language that that Dunn pulled from our bylaws. It was still in our operating, it needs to go. And without objection, would like it removed.
Yes.
Without objection?
Which one are you voting on again?
Oh, no.
Get rid of the word youth.
13F.
Okay, so I'm saying 13, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie,
Foxtrot.
Delta, Echo, and Foxtrot, and Golf, and I'm confused.
We're on
Foxtrot.
13 Foxtrot.
Okay, thank you for, what happened to the other ones?
Is there an objection, Richard?
No, I'm just trying to figure out what the hell we're talking about.
Okay, then the motion carries.
Motion,
Okay.
motion
What
carries.
happened to Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, and Delta, and Echo, and Foxtrot?
13G. This is the last motion. Start
Public
looking at it now,
comment.
please.
Do it. Do it, Nancy, do it.
The Studio City Neighborhood Council Board approves operating procedures, Article 3, Section 1, Paragraph 1, strike youth. This came to us because in our bylaws in September, we added a youth committee and we removed a youth seat. But now with the bylaws that have been approved in May, we have the youth seat is included. So now this is to remove the youth committee. We could add it again if we want. If we get a committee for youth, then we can do it.
Great.
Okay, that I'm good with. I want clarity because I ain't gotten that prior to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have
So
public
without a-
comment from Mr. Sindler, I believe. Final comment of the night.
Yes, a point of order. I think the goat should get 2 minutes because he was deprived of Foxtrot. Yes, I should have gotten a minute on Foxtrot, and I should get a minute on Gamma. Yes, or whatever that phonetic lettering military crap is. Anyway, we're here as civilians. We don't use Foxtrot Echo anymore. We're out of the battlefield.
Jermaine, please.
To the political battlefield of Paul Krikorian's evil dictatorship.
Point
So,
of
yeah,
order, Jermaine, to
I
the motion
support-
regarding youth.
Well, hold on, ma'am. Jesus Christ, hold on. I've only
You don't
had my...
get to call us to hold on.
Hold
Oh,
on.
respectfully, can you
No,
just
I defend his First
I'm in
Amendment
charge of
rights.
this meeting.
allow Mr.
Point of
This
order.
is a hostile takeover. It's a hostile takeover. I'm in charge now. So anyway, I support both. If you would have given me a chance, I support both. They're both very good motions.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
Without
Okay,
objection, the motion
without
carries.
objection,
Has objection.
Brian has an objection.
We don't have to spend much time with it, but I'd vote no on this.
Recorded vote, please.
Should I give it a go?
I'd like to hear a little more from Brian of what a little bit more about it.
I can be quick. I just feel like a youth committee is aspirational, even if we don't have one at the ready. And we should strive towards having a youth committee and not just set one up later. We should build the foundation first and then invite people to join. That's all.
Roll call.
Can I have a comment?
Sure.
You're cutting in and out.
Go ahead.
Hey, yeah, go ahead. You don't even know me. Anyway, that's a joke. We have tried desperately over the last 2 decades, pending that I have been active with the NCNC. And the only youth members we have found are ones that wanted to use being on Neighbor Council to prep their college, applications. I don't blame them. I understand it. I totally support it. But given the reality today, I don't know where we're going. If there is suddenly a groundswell of people that want a youth committee that is actually sponsored and staffed by youth, they want to be actively participating, I totally favor it. But I'm not sure that tonight's motion is going to bring that any closer to reality. I'm in favor of their participation. I encourage their participation. But having been in the Army, I don't believe in, oh my God, expect a miracle. Reality is. Thank you.
Okay, are we good for the roll call vote?
Make a vote.
Okay, Richard, Adam.
Yes.
Brian.
No.
Michael,
Yes.
Randy,
Yes.
Alex.
No.
Is that a no?
No, yeah.
No, yeah.
Yes, no.
Raduca,
No.
Lisa,
No.
Nancy,
Yes.
Richard, Niederberg,
Yes.
Jesse,
Yes.
Rick, Rosner,
Abstain.
Lana,
No.
Alexa, yes. Joseph,
No.
motion passes.
No, motion fails, I think. It's 2/3.
Is it 2/3?
This is
Oh.
operating procedures, is it not?
It's
Yeah,
operating procedures.
Operating procedures is majority.
And it's-
Last time I looked.
Stop. It's 2/3 to change a previous action of the board. Our previous action was the old operating procedures. It's now 2/3 to change operating, but it's all in operating.
Okay, so there's 5 no's, 1 abstain.
So thank you, Nancy. The only announcement I'll make, which is very brief, I promise, is first, thank you for indulging. It was a very long meeting, and I already have notes. Nancy has lots of notes to go over with me, and we're going to work together to streamline this. So thanks for indulging the first meeting. Hopefully, we're going to continue to do some great things together. And with that, without objection, I move to adjourn. Unless anyone has anything else.
I have a comment. I have a comment.
I do have a comment.
Hello.
Please
Go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Richard.
Richard.
Frozen.
Yeah, I understand everybody's desire to get the GCFO and get on with life, especially 1147. But on behalf of myself and everybody else who likes him, I would like to wish Jesse, our fellow board member, a quick and safe healing to his current issues, and offer him our strongest resolve that we will all do anything he needs to have done to help him get back to the path of life and healthiness.
Thank you,
Richard. Can I get a second?
Much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Get well soon.
Hey, dude.
Thanks so
I
much.
meant everything I said.
I appreciate
Hang
that.
out. I write hard, shoot straight, speak the truth as I see it.
There we get it.
I'm going to sleep.
Especially if Evan
We got
Williams.
2 more comments here.
Sure, please. Lisa and then Rick.
So is there any way that we can work on maybe changing the order of the committees that present their motions and reports? Possibly start with bylaws first and then move down from there?
I have a comment.
I'm used to being almost last.
The Robert's Rules of Orders requires whatever that you actually do your meetings in order that they appear in your founding documents. So in our founding documents, bylaws and budget would come first, and then the order as listed on the operating procedures is the order they report.
Amazing. So if we can work
Historical point.
We will probably make a change to how public comments are done, but we'll talk about that offline.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rick Rosner, go ahead.
Just a quick reminder, Brian was always good about getting the BAC Center to get signed. And so that's just a thing needs to be done. We've got like 7 of them to, anyway.
I got
Okay.
to sign them too.
Historical point of order.
How about Brian Carroll, and then
just a quick one. I just want to say, I know this meeting was long. I know these things can get hectic, but I do want to, Randy, congratulate you for presiding over this meeting. And I think I speak for everyone, hopefully, when I say I think the SCNC is in good hands, and we really look forward to seeing what you bring to the council, and we'll be here for help when you need it.
Yes.
Second.
okay, so motion to adjourn.
Second.
Third.
I call for a voice vote.
I'll drink to that.
Okay, everyone. Thank you, and I wish you a good night.
All right, have a good night.
Good night.
Please.